They put a camera and they look at your vocal folds, the vocal cords and everything that is holding, and they make you sing.
I tell my students, hey, start singing. You're playing the violin. Start singing the note. Only then you understand how different a sa and a re is.
Correct.
You're just not hearing it off your instrument. You're hearing it off yourself.
So if you are not doing abdominal breathing, you are setting yourself up for problems later on. Bowing is like the breath. The first fusion artist of our country is
Muthuswami
Dikshidhar.
Fascinating.
Okay, what did he do specially? He didn't stop learning.
I don't know how I trained my ear growing up, right?
Neither do I. It'll actually make sense for any Carnatic musician, no matter what level they are at,
For sure.
to open those books again, get back, spice it up, change the ragam, maybe change the tempo,
the
maybe.
serious ones respect it, right?
Yep.
A song-related practice and a technical-related practice.
Very important aspect is to encourage them to pick up an instrument.
Many ideas that come, the ones that have skin in the game are the ones that remain. Karthik,
Hi Karthik.
lovely to meet here.
Likewise.
What is your approach to music education?
In one word, I would say scientific, because there are a lot of techniques that have been researched upon, and we have a lot more information these days when you club our traditional methods along with what is being taught in Western vocal coaching. So the approach is straightforward, that I bring together what is where there is evidence scientifically that what is working and how you're supposed to approach certain aspects of voice coaching, voice vocal production. Just bring that and fuse that with what has been traditionally being taught and see what is making sense, and then use that approach to take the student to the next level. That is, in simple terms, that is the approach.
So when you say scientific methods, okay, so our raga structure,
Right.
our music, where it comes, everything is 100% or almost to the fullest extent indigenous, right? You could say there are some influences from Arabian influences into Hindustani music.
Yeah.
Carnatic music, we can say that has largely remained insulated from all these things.
Correct.
So when you say scientific methods that add value, what are you referring to if it is not the core music that we're talking about?
So let me take a simple example. In both the systems, both Carnatic and Hindustani, gurus have always insisted on sing from your stomach. Like in Tamil, they'll say "Padi vaitlindu paadu." Hindi, they'll say "Pet se gao." What does that exactly mean? There are so many students, so many singers, aspirants who always get confused that what does it mean to have to produce sound from my stomach? Okay, it's only I would say in a relatively recent times that understanding has sort of been very clear, that what it essentially means is that you breathe through your abdomen, which is a traditional yogic way of breathing. If you take yoga lessons, your yoga instructor is gonna start with do abdominal breathing. Basically, when you inhale, you have to push your belly out, so diaphragm gets pulled down. You inhale deeper. You take in more air.
There's
More space. Proper breath support, so your resonance is better. Your akaras fall better, right? And you are able to sustain a note for a longer period of time. And you sound strong. It's the production of voice, the tone that you produce is not weak. That is what it means. So for a very long time, even I used to wonder while growing up, what does it mean? What does it mean? Like, how can you produce sound from the stomach? Unless you are hungry or gassy, right? So now there are research papers, there are like voice coaches who are doing research, and it's a very clear understanding that all the sound that is produced from your voice is only in your larynx, pharynx. This is where the vocal production happens. You will feel vibration here, that's just a sensation point. You sense it here. Higher notes, you sense it here. It's just those cavities inside your body are just resonating because of the voice you're producing. But in essence, your voice is just like a balloon being filled, and it's not tied and you just go. That is how the vocal production happens. If the balloon doesn't have enough air, it's always right. As simple as that. So sing from your stomach is basically that. When you inhale, push your belly out. When you exhale, it'll automatically fall down. That is what I mean scientific. Now you have evidence, you have research, you know how it works.
So, if I were to just look at it from a different way, I feel like we've had the right intent and the right thought.
Exactly.
But like many other things that come from the oral traditions, it's put across in a slightly simplistic manner. But the science that you're talking about is to actually sort of prove it and explain it in a very linked manner where I think today's Gen Z, today's generation can also, the first thing that they want to know is why.
Exactly.
So it resonates
More with them. Yeah. You have to give them a reason to believe in what you are asking them to do, right?
Right.
Gone are the days when they say, because I said so, you have to do it like that. Those days are gone.
That's gone.
Nobody's going to follow that. You have to tell them this is the logic behind it. And when they try and when it works, they're like, wow, that is great.
Right. And there are certain things that are simply false as well. Kattipadu.
Correct.
I mean, I've heard that a lot of times, but that's
Because see, so from a teacher's point of view, they are saying vaitilindhu paadu, adi vaitilindhu paadu, but the student is not able to understand. So they rephrase it. They're like, put more effort, katti paadu. So they end up screaming, which is never the case. You're not supposed to scream, no shouting.
looking up and singing
Looking
for the high
up
notes.
and singing, because the larynx then ends up lifting and it becomes weak,
Right.
right? So
That makes so much sense from the vocal perspective, and I understand. I've gone with to a voice coach, Shamala Vinod ma'am, and from what you're saying, I'm able to understand also how important the breath is, because the breath is what is sort of fueling the
it
vocal
is
cords. It's the
everything.
fuel, right?
Yep, 100%. It is everything.
It's fantastic how when you look at it, there are these components at play, and there is so much nuance
Yep.
that is there. I compare it with the bowing, because when we speak to our students in Swara,
Yeah.
we are very keen on the bowing. Everyone in Carnatic music in general, everyone is more active with the left hand.
Correct.
Rightly so, the left hand is very important. The left hand sort of creates the notes, modulates the gamakas. So in a way, it's responsible for showcasing the raga. But then the voice is in the bowing, right?
Correct.
So you need to have a good bow hold. You need to have a smooth bow. You need to have a warm bow tone. Again, if there is a vocalist who is able to sing fantastic gamakas and everything, but the voice is not good, and that's the equation that I draw with my students as well, saying, hey, first sort out your voice. Even if you play something simple, it'll end up sounding more beautiful than otherwise.
That's actually very beautifully put. If you want to draw parallels between violin instruction and vocals, bowing is like the breath. That's essentially that it is.
yeah.
Because like how when you're creating the notes, you're singing gamakas, all that happens here. The syllables, the words, everything happens here. That's like the left hand, right? Where you're articulating the sound that you produce. But the actual sound production, the bowing, is what is the breath. So
Yes.
that foundation has to be very strong.
Right. Which is very beautifully put. I always tell my students, when you have a long bow, sari gama pa pa, sari gama pa, and people who are beginning don't have that sort of a bow yet, so they need to maintain the bow and the full length across it, which is breath. I'm saying, hey, keep your bow slow, don't run out of breath.
Correct.
I think it's completely valid, and I'm sure it's the same for other instruments as well.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
has this component.
Yeah.
right?
So,
Can you break it down?
yeah, it's like a form of efficiency. Like, the process that is involved in the core sound production, you make that process efficient. So in vocal terms, it's engaging the abdomen. In your violin terms, it's sorting the bowing, right?
Yeah.
If it's like a percussion instrument, like how efficient is your movement from say the snare to the tom, right? Are you moving the entire shoulder or is it just like this? That makes a massive difference. How quickly you move, right?
Yeah.
Are you moving your entire forearms or is it just the wrist that is
Economy
moving?
of
Yeah,
movement.
that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
economy, that efficiency
Yeah.
is what the whole game is about.
Nice. One more facet that is important for us as educators is the aspect of ear training. To be very frank with you, and I confess to my students as well, I don't know how I trained my ear growing up, right?
Neither do I.
So, what is your way to reverse engineer this process for students who are rightly very curious, very inquisitive about how to develop their ear?
Correct. So the way I go about it is have visual aids by using like simple pitch monitors or tuners, wherein they sing and they keep periodically checking themselves whether they are singing the note at the right place or not. The other very important aspect is to encourage them to pick up an instrument. For a vocal student, having an instrument, particularly something like a keyboard, is very very important on multiple levels. Number one, it's absolute, right? A digital keyboard, you hit the note, it produces that note. There is no question of
There
it
is no
being
two ways
flat.
about
Yeah,
it. Yes.
there's
Yes.
no doubts whether it has gone flat or sharp.
It's literally and figuratively black and white.
Correct. Right? So you hit that note and you sing it. But then there's a component of did I sing it right? Even if you hit it, you hear it and you replicate it, there's always a doubt component that did I do that right? Which is what a guru in person, like when you sit in front of a teacher, is what they do. When they sing and they tell there's a tanpura or a shruti box playing or a keyboard playing, whatever it is, they sing and they tell, you went a little sharp, konja shruti went away. Like that, they'll give you feedback and they'll keep correcting you. But when you're practicing on your own, you need something to tell you that, hey, you know what, you're probably a little flat or sharp. So a combination of an instrument and a visual aid like a tuner or something, or a pitch monitor, which tells them that, okay, this was the note, and I have to replicate the note exactly the same way. That is what I use and encourage my students to strengthen their ear. A lot of it is play something, think about it, try to repeat it. Play something, think about it, try to repeat it. So that is the approach I take for ear training, and knowing an instrument for that, or at least sitting with an instrument and just hanging out with it is a very important component.
Nice. I completely agree with you on the instrument part of it. And now it's very interesting, just like our first conversation where we talked about the vocal versus the bowing, or vocal and bowing being integrated. I tell my students, hey, start singing. Okay, you're playing the violin. Start singing the note. Only then you understand how different a sa and a re is.
Correct.
You're just not hearing it off your instrument, you're hearing it off yourself.
Self, yeah.
But regarding that, using the tuner,
Right.
can it become a crutch?
It can definitely become a crutch. It's the analogy that I use is, how in engineering colleges you get introduced to calculators. And then by the second year, you are checking what is 4 plus 4 on a calculator, right? It definitely becomes a crutch. So it has to be done very tastefully, or in the sense like it has to be, you have to start with it, but then also wean off of it
Being away from it.
gradually, and learn to trust your ears.
Right.
How do you go about ear training your
So we have a fingerboard sticker, which is pretty much, I think the first Carnatic fingerboard sticker in the market is probably ours.
nice?
I would think. So for us, a visual aid is very necessary because you're not hearing a note and playing. Of course, the hearing is a second order effect of you maybe hearing and self-correcting yourself. But the first move is to keep your finger in a certain place in a physical fingerboard. So we created a sticker there's a lot of Western notation fingerboard stickers in the market. But I found them to be intonation wise, I didn't find them to be accurate. So we tested a fingerboard sticker over several instruments. Our faculty got together, we tried it. And then we used that as again, as you said, as a temporary place where people can look and place their fingers.
Right.
As soon as they move beyond a certain level, we encourage them to take it off. In fact, even when they have it still, we are like, okay, you can stop looking down on your fingerboard sticker, just look up and play normally. Keep the fingerboard sticker on a very need-by basis when you're doing specific drills, specific exercises with respect to intonation, maybe. But slowly start to dissociate yourself. So it's very similar. One important thing, as I told you, is we asked them to sing. Sa, re, ga, ma. Feel the notes. Feel what sa, re is. Only then will you be, only when you can sing it, which is the highest form of music, is to sing, right?
Correct.
I feel like the flute lies probably between the singing and the violin because the breath is yours.
Yeah.
The violin is completely outside of you.
Yeah.
But it's important to sing for you to feel the notes, and when you hear it, you'll be able to relate to that better. But I actually really agree with what you said about the keyboard. Even for a violinist, I would say go to a keyboard and sing with the keyboard.
Correct.
You know what sa and re is on a keyboard because there is no two ways about it.
Correct.
So do it, sing it. Maybe sing it, do it to check. Do all these things.
That's the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
One additional tool that you can use, which is less of a crutch, is to use a sine wave signal as a tanpura.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you load up a sine wave synthesizer. I have that on my YouTube channel. I have made sine wave shruti box, so speaking, right? No, a sine wave shruti box on my YouTube channel, which is like 15-minute files of all 12 shrutis, all of them. So when we are speaking, if you look at in an EQ, we have a whole bunch of frequencies coming up. We have the core fundamental frequency, and then there are harmonics which also show up. And we are sa. It's not just one frequency. It's like sa along with a bunch of harmonics. Same thing is true for a piano note, for a violin note, whatever you play.
For anything, yeah.
But a sine wave is a pure peak. So if you take sa, pa and sa, sine in a sine wave synth, you'll just get those three peaks.
Yes.
And it's a very rich sound which fills your ear very quickly. And when you sing each and every note with that as a tanpura, you have a phase interaction happening between the note that you produce and the sine wave. So certain notes will have like a you'll feel a rhythmic pattern in your head. You'll feel it only when you sing it. When someone else sings it, you won't feel it that much. But when you listen to the tanpura in a nice pair of speakers and you sing it, because of the bone conduction and everything, you start hearing that phase interaction. And that way, when you are matching the sa perfectly with the shruti, it will feel like, this is the analogy I use, it will feel like two slices of bread matching right on top of each other.
Nice. Okay.
Right? And notes like the prati madhyama or the ni, they'll have that tension which will be like you'll feel a rhythmic pattern in your ear. So that way you're less depending visually, more learning to trust your ears.
That's fascinating. These sine waves are available, you said, where?
I have created those 15-minute long sine wave shrutis and put on my YouTube channel.
On your YouTube channel?
On my YouTube channel. For like people who know music production, you can just load up a VS2
But could you call out your YouTube channel for those?
It's you just have to look for Karthik Sekaran on YouTube and you'll come across
Karthik Sekaran. It's not tough to find, guys.
Karthik Sekaran on YouTube. Just on YouTube, write sine wave tanpura. I'll guarantee my page will show up.
Amazing. And on that same note, your Instagram, how can people find you on Instagram?
It's Karthik Music Mentor.
Karthik Music Mentor. I'm pretty sure our audiences, there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
People, music enthusiasts, music learners. Yeah. This sine wave is fascinating to me as a violinist. Because when I am asking people to check their intonation, I ask them to when I asked them to play a pa on one note, I asked them to check with the pa on the lower string or the higher string. And this drr you said, it's it's a concept called beats
Correct.
in physics, right?
Okay, yeah.
Where when there is two frequencies very close to each other, there's a
Yeah. They're fighting with each other in that.
and then at some point of time it just becomes one.
Correct.
Like you talked about the sandwich, which is beautiful. That's fascinating because what you've done is what we do on an instrument, on a physical thing, you create it through the air between the speaker with the sine wave and between yourself.
Yeah.
I'll try that. I'll definitely go onto the YouTube and try that, and I'll probably speak to my students about it because I find that very interesting.
All my students who have taken that seriously and attempted it have always come back and said, I am getting so much better with my pitching because of that. And it is also something that, a tanpura is a moving signal. It keeps moving between sa, pa and sa, right? It just keeps moving. Sine wave is more steady. So it gives you a stronger reference for your ears to stay in pitch. And as you keep getting better, you can again wean off of the sine wave, get back to tanpura.
Exactly.
And you'll hear those interactions in the tanpura as
course.
well.
Just to clarify for music enthusiasts who love music, who are watching this, if you really want to get better at expressing yourself, and of course at other people enjoying your expression, you need to split your practice into an expression, a song related practice and a technical related practice.
100%.
And what you're saying might sound dry to some, but you need to oil the engine every now and then. You need to oil your engine so that when you go on a long trip, you can drive, enjoy yourself, drive with ease, listen to music and drive. You can do whatever you want. And that's the part with the tanpura, right?
100%.
But the part with the sine wave is you sitting down with your greasy engine, adding lubricants, doing all the hard work it takes. For me, frankly, I find that to be extremely meditative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like bread and butter for any serious musician.
And it's in life, even in life, if you can somehow enjoy during doing the boring things, I think inevitably it's easier for you. You have a better chance of being successful, right?
Yep, 100% right. See, the analogy that I use for that is, if you look at cricketers, when they're rehearsing, when there's a tournament coming up and the media is covering their rehearsals, it's not just batting and bowling that they're doing, right? They'll run around cones, they'll just do sprints back and forth, they'll jump through like ropes, and they'll do all those other cross training, those other foundational level drills which they need to do in order to sort of activate their body. I think of all these are Sharali Varsais, Janta Varsais, Dhat Varsais, Alankarams, Varnams, is something that, as Carnatic musicians, when we cross that stage of having learned those things and we move to kritis and improvisations and all those things, we sort of sideline those things and we end up forgetting them. But it'll actually make sense for any Carnatic musician, no matter what level they are at,
for sure,
to open those books again, get back, spice it up, change the ragam, change the tempo,
the serious ones respect it, right? They respect the path. It's not just about respecting the path that you have come from. It's good to do that, obviously, but you respect what value it holds for you at any point of time in your
So I read this somewhere, like the basic drills that people call, it's very basic stuff. It's that basic is that tone, it's super basic is something which is like a misnomer, I would say. Basic means the foundation, right? So they do that with buildings also. If a building is old, you always go down to the foundation, you check the structural strength of the columns and beams and all that. It's similar to that. Periodically go back to those drills. Make it interesting by make it faster, singing it to a metronome, changing the ragam of those patterns.
Of course.
Sing it in akaram.
Challenge yourself.
Yeah, challenge yourself. Spice it up. But go back to those stuff back again.
That's flat out. I think that's the best advice
100%.
students of
Yeah.
today can have.
Yeah.
Just because you've crossed something and gone to the next level doesn't mean that you can't go back and reinvent yourself.
Yep.
It's the foundation. You always keep working on the foundation, foundation, then you can build something taller and taller.
Yep. Yep.
Right? Nice. So, we were having a chat before we started discussing on camera about voice culture. I'm very fascinated about what you had to say about meeting the laryngologists.
Yeah.
Could you just talk a bit about it? Talk in such a way that a 12-year-old can understand. Just break it down. What is a laryngologist? What do they do, and what importance does it hold to a singer?
So, laryngologists are specialist ENT doctors, basically, who take care of the ear, nose, and throat, right? And they specialize in the functioning of the larynx. So there are multiple areas of specialization for a laryngologist, and I don't know all of them. Of course, there are people who specialize in swallowing because there are patients who have difficult swallowing and all that. But the people with whom I have been working with, that doctor, Dr. Raghavi, she is a specialist on singing stroboscopy. Now, what does singing stroboscopy do? What does it do is that they put a camera and they look at your vocal folds, the vocal cords and everything that is holding, and they make you sing.
Okay.
So the camera goes through your nose.
Through your nose?
Through your nose. Because if they, traditionally the endoscopy that they do, the ENT do, it's they pull the tongue out and put the camera through your mouth. That way you cannot sing. But when it's through your nose and looking at your...
How weird is it to have something going to your nose?
First 10 seconds you'll feel a little like your eyes will water and a little, but then you'll get used to it.
You get used to it. It feels like... Yeah.
It doesn't pain, it doesn't hurt, nothing.
Okay.
It's a brilliant tool for diagnosis. Like, it's a brilliant tool to see what is happening.
Like a thin...
It's a thin
thing
tube,
that goes
like
through one of your nostrils.
not very thin. When you look at it, you will be like, will that even fit inside my nose? But turns out it can fit.
It can, okay.
Okay. So it's slightly thinner than a pencil, I would say. Okay, slightly thinner than a pencil. It's that thick. So the first reaction when I saw it, it was like, whoa, will that even go inside my nose? I thought it will be like a thin wire or something like that.
Right.
But no, it's fairly thick, but it doesn't hurt. You'll not feel a thing. So it looks at your vocal cords and they'll basically ask you to produce sound. They'll ask you to sing simpler things, difficult things, whatever techniques you are aware of, like do a gamaka, do a vibrato, do a tremolo, whatever you can do, right? Speak, sing a falsetto. They'll do all that, and they'll basically see how efficient your vocal folds are functioning. Vocal folds are essentially like a string only. Okay, right? You'll notice that when you sing a higher pitch note, your larynx automatically comes forward, and that stretches out your vocal folds. And when you pass,
so you can see all this.
when you pass air through it, it's nicely stretched and you produce a nice high pitch sound. When you sing a low pitch sound, your larynx automatically goes back and reduces the tension, and it is more of a ooh kind of a sound. Okay. So so it's, I would say our voice is like a combination of a string and a wind instrument. Like passing wind through a string is kind of the instrument.
It's going back.
Your larynx has gone back and
it comes front.
It has come forward. You don't have to do anything manually. It automatically happens.
Okay.
And that is exactly the reason why they say don't look up, because the moment you look up, your larynx's neutral position gets shaken up. It lifts up, and that introduces inefficiencies in the way you produce sound. If you clench your jaw, if you don't drop it, again the larynx gets locked up, and that's very inefficient. But sa is more efficient. Like that. You understand all those things during those studies that they do on it. And you club that with the techniques that have been traditionally been passed down and what people are researching and coming up with. Everything will add up. That you'll notice you're supposed to breathe through your abdomen. Only then the vocal folds vibrate more efficiently. no tightening of the neck, no
So
tightening of
with
the jaw.
this device, you're able to see good technique versus bad technique exactly, and I'm guessing a related and an obvious next step is you're able to create a good technique which the laryngologist can give a thumbs up on,
Yep.
saying, "Hey, okay, what you're doing right now is good.
Yeah.
What you just did a minute ago was
Right. Was not great. So that sound production, something was off. This seems fine. And then they have methods of doing therapy for you, which fixes those
okay."
inefficiencies.
Let me ask a practical question. This sounds fascinating, very scientific. Um, it's obviously a bit more invasive as well.
Yep. Yep.
So can you break down who this is for? Like who needs to do something like this and who probably doesn't?
So see, if you are someone who doesn't have, who are happy with the way you are singing and you're happy with the notes that you're hitting, all that is fine. You don't need to go through this process. It is specifically for people who are struggling with issues like, you're producing a note and all of a sudden the voice just drops. It becomes like very husky, airy, or when you're starting to sing, it's initially very husky, but then when you push a bit more air, it starts coming out. Or your voice is like, perpetually it is like hoarse all the time. Or you experience some sort of pain or discomfort while singing. You used to sing high notes, but now you're all of a sudden unable to sing those high notes. Things like that, right?
I think you described some performers that I probably know or we probably know who used to have a fantastic voice, but as it got used more, as more and more performances started to take a toll on the voice.
Correct.
Is that inevitable, or with good technique you can avoid that and keep singing into your 60s and 70s without any?
See, some
I mean,
amount
I
of
can think of someone like SPB who his voice was golden, like till, and Balamuli Krishna sir as
Right,
well.
right.
Right. So break that down. Is it overuse is a problem, or even enough of use, but with a good technique? How do you
Right.
weigh
So,
that?
see, age related degradation will definitely happen, like with any other muscle of your body. Right. But with proper technique, regular care and accumulate that proper technique based singing over a period of long years will sort of ensure longevity. But if from a very young age your technique, the fundamentals have not been good, when you're young, your body is strong, you have the endurance, you are able to push and sing notes in a way which might not be efficient, might not be ideal, and you keep doing that for a long period of time, your voice sort of breaks down. And then after that, it's like a very therapy based journey,
To get it
working
back.
with a laryngologist, working with voice coaches.
So for performers possibly looking at this, I think a lot of performers are increasingly getting interested in your work as well. Is it possible if a voice has sort of degraded, either due to age, due to overuse, a bit of both, or due to abuse, whatever be the case, is it possible to bring it back? And how much, practically what can be done?
Right. So, see, it is all still study in progress, right? How effectively. I personally don't have like a case study at the moment where I say, it had gone so bad and like it came back exactly the way it was previously. And I think that is not technically. Logically thinking, that won't be exactly possible, but you might be able to come quite close to the way you were if you are willing to make a few compromises.
So there is hope.
There is definitely hope.
Okay, let's move to the other side of the spectrum. Not performers, learners. And I want to talk about this a bit as well next. But while on this subject, you said if you're able to take good care of your voice. So for learners who are just learning, who are just starting to sing concerts, who are starting to do recordings, what are the tips that you would give to maintain your voice?
The first, who are just starting out, for people like that, the first and foremost thing is pay attention to the way you are breathing and fix that. If you are not doing abdominal breathing, you are setting yourself up for problems later on.
So by abdominal breathing, so
You inhale and you push your belly out.
Okay.
You exhale, the belly falls back automatically.
For someone who is not able to do this, what is the best way that they can start to approach this?
It's a more yogic practice when you start doing this. And I mean, I have read books from Western opera voice coaches who say the same thing. They're like, abdominal breathing is the foundation, and the only way to get it is either through yoga or Pilates.
Yoga or Pilates?
Because these two techniques focus a lot on the breath. And the way to do it would be what I recommend for my students with whom I observe that, abdominal breathing, the breath support could be an issue, is to do abdominal breathing, wherein, you're just concentrating on the breath through the nose, in through the nose, out through the nose, but inhale, belly out, exhale, belly falls back in. Do that before you drift off to sleep while lying on your back. You've looked at the phone and everything, you put the phone away.
Yeah.
Don't go back to the phone.
That's the toughest thing ever.
Yeah. So watch whatever you want to watch. When you're like, you know what, I'm ready to sleep, put the phone away, lie on your back, one hand on the chest, one hand on the diaphragm.
Unless you're listening to this podcast, in which case you can listen and do the same
and then
thing.
do this later. Yeah. One hand on the chest, one hand on the diaphragm, and you inhale, let the belly go out, and then let the belly fall down naturally.
My yoga teacher does this a lot, where one hand on the diaphragm, touching the chest,
Right.
and one hand on the abdomen, to feel it. So basically, can I say, looking at this in a different way is, don't activate the chest. We all use this puffing up the chest. Don't do that.
Does nothing to you.
Just expand the stomach,
You're
and
just
somehow it
stretching
happens.
You're just stretching the muscles here when you stretch the chest. You are not filling in more air.
Right.
The lungs are like, pear-shaped, right?
Right.
So the majority of the volume is at the bottom. So you have to push your tummy out, that pulls the diaphragm, and that allows air to go deep into your lungs. So you inhale a lot more air.
So this is I think this is very important. You kept this as a very important
That is the
thing.
core. Very similar to the way you emphasize in your teaching on how to bow properly.
I think the good news is, once people can, I don't know if it's a shift in thinking or a shift in feeling or both, once they can do abdominal breathing, they know how to do it.
Yep.
Right?
So that's how the human body naturally breathes.
Got it.
That's how babies breathe. So what happens somewhere in the process of growing up, we get used to spreading our chest and stretching and breathing the wrong way. So what happens is you have to remind your body, the muscles, you have to rebuild it in your muscle memory. That's what happens when you do it just before sleeping. So when you just do it just before sleeping and you drift off, you do it 30 times, the abdominal breath lying on your back, and then drift off to sleep, you give your mind to sort of rewire to think like that. And over a period of, I would say, 3-4 weeks, it realistically takes anything consistent effort over a period of 4 weeks to build in the muscle memory. Once you do that, the next thing would be to keep asking yourself that question when you're singing. You sing a note, you sing a line, and you're like, how did I breathe? Go back to it. This time breathe properly. Try it again. If I've seen it so many times, it's like it's ridiculous that a singer struggles to sing a higher note, a slightly fast akaram, right? And then I'm like, you know what? Reset, push your belly, breathe properly, try it, and it comes. Right? And they're like, wow, I did not realize that. Right? So that is the next step, that you keep self-checking. You keep asking yourself, hey, how did I breathe last time? Oh, I struggled in that last line. Did I breathe through my abdomen or not? If not, do that. So like that, keep self-checking. I'm sure you have such self-checking methods when you're teaching, for going like, hey, periodically, reset, stretch your finger, something like that.
I tell my student violin, and I think I read this from Yehudi Menuhin, who is one of the greatest of the greats in Western classical music. I vaguely remember reading from him, and I tell my students also, violin is a very self-deprecatory art, where you always have to keep, what am I doing wrong? Is my posture wrong? Is my bow hold wrong? Is something right? Or is it, you're always looking at yourself and trying to find out what you're doing wrong. And there are so many things involved, right? I think with the vocals, there is many more things that are internal, so it sort of comes together.
Yeah.
Okay, so breath. We have spent a significant amount of time on breath, and that shows its importance. What are the other voice care that you would
Correct.
you would maybe the top 3 voice care things you would recommend after you've say sorted out the
breath
abdominal
issue.
breathing?
Yeah. Topmost, hydrate yourself enough. When I say enough, 3 liters every day.
3 liters every day.
Right? There are studies which say
How do you know whether you're hydrated or not?
how do I? So you have like what I do is I have a transparent 3-liter bottle.
Right.
I fill it up first thing in the morning, and by the end of the day, I should be
So
able to
you're
run through it.
saying, in absolute terms, 3 liters, measure yourself, drink it from morning to evening, and then you are sorted.
You're sorted.
Great.
So because in addition to 3 liters of water, no, you would have had a few coffees, few teas, maybe you've had a nice glass of rasam. All that is additional hydration. But 3 liters of water is needed,
Got it.
irrespective of the weather. Whether you're in a cold place or you're in a humid, hot place.
Okay.
Irrespective. 3 is needed, but don't go beyond 3.5 and all, because then it creates other issues.
Yeah.
Don't go beyond 4 liters.
Overworks the kidneys and all those things. Okay.
It's not advisable. Hydration is the most important. Your turmeric milk, pepper milk, everything none of that will work if you have not hydrated yourself properly.
First step is to hydrate.
Hydrate.
Okay.
That is first step. Second step, assuming you have fixed your breathing. Second step when you're singing is to relax everything. No tightness in the neck, no tightness in the jaw, no making faces, no looking up, none of that. Relax your shoulder, relax your chest, relax your jaw, have a gentle rounding of the mouth. Just be relaxed facially and produce the sound. That would be the second most important. Okay. And third most important, actually, I would rather flip the order and make this third one the first one, is be consistent with your practice.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
Don't miss more than 2 days of practice. Not more than 2 days. You've missed, take a break. Practice regularly for 6 days a week. Give your mind and body a break for 1 day. But then don't let that 1 day become 3 days or 2 weeks.
That's wise words indeed. For us violinists, it's a muscle memory. I think it's muscle memory for the singers as well.
It's all muscle.
It's all muscle memory. Good, Karthik. That's mightily useful, I'm sure, for all the aspiring, learning singers as well as performing singers. I think there's a little bit to take away for anyone and everyone who's singing. Lastly, I just want to jump into something away from the science, something more human, right? Our Indian tradition, anything in Indian tradition for me is special.
100%, yeah.
We are all lucky to be born into this beautiful culture with hundreds and thousands of years of wisdom. When you're talking about breathing culture, you don't have to look far beyond. You just have to go to yoga.
Yeah.
Yoga comes from our culture. So there's so many beautiful things in our culture. And can we say, when you're talking about, say, Carnatic music, its existence as it is, can we say maybe 300, 400 years?
Maybe even more.
Even more?
Maybe even more.
Tyagaraja, the Trinity, when were they? Were they in the 1800s?
Before that.
Before that, 1700s?
Yeah. There have been composers before that.
But there have been composers before that as well.
Yeah.
Is it the lot of things that we are talking about? We're talking in a foreign language. Yes. We are talking about scientific concepts where we are alluding to a lot of Western science.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we have a indigenous science that has held us as a culture, as the longest existing civilization.
Yeah.
Why are we discussing about all this now as if it's something new. Why hasn't this been coming together? Because whatever you say about the culture, someone who's singing or playing the violin and not having a good bow hold, not able to produce good sound, or having singing in a way that destroys the voice, at no point of time can you say that it's correct. Regardless of what culture, regardless of how great a culture, how pure it is, if you're not singing with good technique where you are destroying your voice, it's just not right. Why is it? And was there sometime? Are you aware? I don't know too much about the history of things, but is this something that we've ignored so far, or is it something that we have lost along the way? What is your thoughts? Even if you don't know historically what is your thoughts on this?
So this is the information age, and with modern day technology and tools, we are able to capture more data. Okay, a lot of these techniques, like breathe through your stomach, don't make faces, relax, have been passed on from generations. A lot of Hindustani gurus keep saying,
So you're saying it's all has existed in India.
it has existed. The knowledge, the technique is there, but it's like a case of Chinese whispers. When you
Something gets lost in translation.
something gets lost in translation. There's a brilliant book by Dr. L. Subramaniam called Raga Harmony, in which he's bringing in the history of Carnatic music, blending in with Western music, and presenting his
I've
thoughts.
seen that book. I've seen that book. I've yet to
It's a
read it. Yeah.
beautiful book. It's a very short book. Like you can 2-3 hour flight journey, you can finish that book.
Nice.
In that, when we stop learning from whatever we have inside or in our environment, we have to look out and make sense of what is happening and see if we can learn from it. When we stop learning, we sort of stop evolving. And then, that information, when we just try to pass it as it is, it sort of fizzles out, I feel. So in that book, he mentions how the great Muthuswami Dikshidhar, he traveled across India. From Madras, he went up to Prayagraj, Allahabad, Varanasi, interacted with Hindustani musicians, interacted with whatever Western music he could get exposed to. And in his later on compositions, he had added those flavors into it. I'm talking from very composition point of view. And he goes on to even say in his book that, so technically, the first fusion artist of our country is
Muthuswami
Dikshidhar.
Fascinating.
Okay. Which really, really, when you look back, you have to really think about what was special. What did he do specially? He didn't stop learning. He
did not stop exploring.
Exploring. You have to experiment. You have to sometimes break some rules, experiment, try it, present it, see how things are going on, and not take everything as it is that it is given to you. Like question that, and then see if there's a better explanation being provided. So when you become too rigid with the way you have learned and this is what it is, right? So you close the doors for questioning and logical discussion and growth.
I think that's a problem with many things in life today, right? And I think music is a part of it, where it becomes ossified, and you need to. I think the status quo is important from a very conservative standpoint. It is important because there's things that have worked for many decades, centuries, and thousands of years. There's no reason to let it go. But at the same time,
reinforce it.
You need to have a space where new ideas can come, can be tested, and can be filtered. Right?
Yes.
The ones that have skin in the game. Like I read this book by Nassim Taleb. He's a brilliant author. He writes in his book Skin in the Game, where he talks about many ideas that come. The ones that have skin in the game are the ones that remain. Like, very simple. You think about something like, say, marriage, right? We take it for granted, but it stayed for how many years, right? You think about a lot of ideologies that come up. There are many ideologies that are coming up in today's globalized world, but some stay, some leave. And I think it's the same with everything.
Yeah.
The internet came, the internet stayed. Now we are seeing the AI. Now we'll understand how it's going to. But there's a lot of changes that are coming. The ones that make sense stay.
Correct.
But there is this constant tussle between the status quoists
sticking to
and the
traditional
ones who think the only good thing about everything is change. And I feel like it's a beautiful way to reinforce that, hey, the truth does lie in the center, however unglamorous that might be in today's polarized world.
Yep.
The truth lies in the center where there is a constant tension, and the things that are appreciated by people stay.
Correct.
And the other things
Fizzle out.
get filtered away.
Yep, they're filtered away. So, technically speaking, yes, abdominal breathing, relaxing jaw face, everything has existed in our systems. Okay? But, somewhere the technique sort of fizzles out. And now that new data is actually showing through things like stroboscopy, camera, and it is showing this is how it actually works. And even Western voice coaches are like, what, abdominal breathing is important, and yoga Pilates only fixes it. They're going like that. So then it makes sense. Like, what they were saying is right, but somewhere we've lost that information. We need to reinforce it with modern technology.
The thing, Karthik, is a part of me wants to think, hey, this has all been in Indian culture. We maybe have lost it. I'm hoping, like, hey, we've had everything sorted out. But a part of me also thinks, what's wrong about taking the best, our raga structures, our depth of manodharma and everything, and combining with what the best of what Western has to offer us.
That is something that Dr. L. Subramaniam presents
There's no
in his
shame.
book. Yeah,
there is no shame in that. There is nothing. If you say that, it doesn't mean you are not respecting your culture, right?
It doesn't mean like that at all.
It's good to learn from each other. Like you said, Muthuswami Dikshita, he didn't have to. I want to check out more about him because I hear his name often when in the context of fusion music as well. He didn't have to travel around and learn Hindustani music and stuff like that, but he did it. And that just says something about being open to other influences,
Ideas,
which is what a culture has always been about.
Absolutely right. Even in that book, Dr. L. Subramaniam's book, he presents a new Melakarta system. Instead of the 72, he presents I think 36. Right? It's simple. Basically, he's adding the first 36 Melakarta and adding the Pratimadhyam to that and making like 8-note scales. The purpose of him doing that is important. He says Western musicians should know that there are more sounds than what they are exposed to. So here is like a simplified version of the Melakarta system. You use that
for them.
and you make pieces out of these very different sounding ragas. No, go ahead and make it. Right. So it's a very interesting book. It's a very interesting.
I'll check that book out. I've seen it here and there. I need to pick it up and read it.
Yeah.
The point of us discussing all this could get lost if someone who's listening looks at the top artists and says, hey, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Because the top violin artists that I see have good bow holds. It's probably not what I would teach from the Western perspective, but they have good bow holds, they have good sound producing, they have good things going on. And I would say it's the same for the top singers as well.
Yeah.
But I feel the point to drive home is we want to create the base of learners who are learning Sarli Varisai Geetam and equip them so that as a overall society of learners, it's not just the both of us. If all gurus spend time and attention to all these things and equip learners with this, it's not something that needs to filter out where only the top line has sorted this out.
Correct.
Maybe by accident, maybe by design, I don't know. But if we can equip this from the very basic, the skilling can happen at the basic, then overall the level goes up, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the cream.
Correct.
It's the overall level that goes up, which is
Yes.
why I feel it's very important to have these conversations. It's very important for learners The performers are sorted in their own way. They figured out a way to sort things out. But it's important for the learners to pay attention to all this and be aware of all these things, because
Very nicely put.
that's important.
That's actually very beautifully put.
Karthik, it's been a pleasure to talk about the science of singing. Very fascinating to learn about the experiments that you are doing with the laryngologists.
Laryngologists.
I need to
It's a
get
tongue
that.
twister.
I need to get that word down. Also, doubtless, the breath as well as the care tips for the vocals would have been, I'm pretty sure, game changers for a lot of the learners who are
Certainly
watching.
hope so.
Thank you for being here. Hope to
Thank you for
catch up
having
with
me
you
over.
more often.
Yes, certainly. I look forward to our conversation again.